Hey folks, this is Ben Yessel. This is just kind of a late night video here I'm making. And it's been a few weeks. I've been plenty busy. Oh boy. So tomorrow is still going to be very busy. I just gotta say this. I think I'm just about done with all things taxes, and I'm doing just fine. Interestingly enough, state taxes were a bit more frustrating than federal taxes this year. And we don't really have state income taxes in Washington, but it's the B&O tax that's kind of messed up because I've never paid B&O tax because of just how much I make. But it was just that computer was, I don't know what was wrong with it, but I should have been able to claim the small business credit. And according to their actual documents, yes, I should. And so it wasn't working. So I don't know what's going on with Washington State's B&O tax weirdness right now. But anyway, but that's just a little bit smaller potatoes comparatively. Just to give an idea how much I would spend if I spent any money on B&O tax in Washington. It's about 1/10 of what I spend on federal taxes. 1/10. But both of those sums are, anyway, it's just, so it's like you could get a new guitar with the amount of money that the B&O tax says I owe, which I don't. Again, small credit tax, small business credit tax. The federal government tax, and this is kind of roughly what I've been paying for the last while, more or less. You can buy a used car with that amount, just to give them how much money I've been spending on taxes. So that's kind of weird. But the process of paying federal taxes was very smooth because I paid for a good person, $18 block. He was very good, and I would totally use him again. I don't mind paying him a little bit extra. I really don't. Yeah. So, what are my thoughts here? Well, first off, there isn't, with very few exceptions, there's hardly any nations in the world. Most every nation's government is somewhat corrupt. Somewhat. If you don't agree with this, look at the nature of government itself, what it tends to do to people when they're in power. So, okay. If you guys haven't heard some of my thoughts on all things government and Illuminati, yes, they are very much real. And I don't care what you call them. I know what they're after. So, there's stuff about the national debt, and whenever I hear certain topics, I just say to myself, I was born into this world. I love my parents. They were the ones that made me. I don't owe, other than my parents and my family members, my siblings, and my religion, in a way, yes, and God himself. I don't owe anybody anything. I owe my family, especially, everything, and the Lord and stuff, but that's a different deal. I don't personally owe anybody. I'm referring to the government. I don't owe the Illuminati or the government anything. The Illuminati can assume that they own me. They can assume that they own everything I have and everything I ever will be. They're delusional. Their power stops where, well, you would think, oh, guns, right? Yeah, guns. Guns. Who has, but ultimately it's God, right? If someone says you owe me $10,000 and let's just say you don't, but you have a gun, you say, oh, I do I? And that person says, oh, never mind, you don't. Let's say, guns. Isn't that messed up? This is a messed up world we live in. Really, really messed up. Hopefully I'd never owe anybody that much money. But that's what the US government does. But we have to support the government somehow, don't we? Yeah, sure. Wouldn't it be great if we actually had an actual voice in the government? Our voice is somebody that we elect who promises everything, and maybe they're halfway decent, but they always get corrupted on some level. We get into politics, at least the national level especially. Yeah, they don't represent us. Who can? They're all bribed to death, and even if they're halfway decent people, just the way that this House Representatives and Senate has always been, till God comes down again, change everything. And these politicians are bribed all the time from big companies and big interests and stuff. Isn't it funny, though, when you can watch something, like I'm just watching, for instance, something by, what's his name? Last name's Moore. Anyway, that guy. He's kind of chubby. Watch any of his movies, and you're just like, yep, yep, yep. It doesn't really matter if you're Republican or Democrat. That doesn't matter at all. At all. It's like, yeah, either you're in the club or you're not. If you're in the club, you have oodles of money because it's like you have all the money of like your dad or your granddad or your great granddad, or they're all of their investments, all the things they own. You're connected to other people that just everybody gives each other lavish gifts and cars, and we're talking like millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of old money, and just that's the Illuminati right there in the West. Who gives a crap if you owe 5 or 10 or 15 or 50,000, $100,000? Nobody gives a crap if they're that wealthy. Because $100,000 compared to 10 million, 100 million, billion, it's like child's play. It's like little pittance money, 15, I don't know. It's just, it's like, oh, you win some, you lose some. Oh, well, you got me. Here's your $100,000. Like, $100,000, that's a boatload of money. I make, well, I shouldn't say how much I make, but I should be able to make quite a bit of money this year. I don't even see, most of us don't even see half of what we earn, because it's, self-employment taxes are 15 point something percent. And then you have additional things that might crop up. I don't know, but well, there's rent and food. We'll just say rent. Between rent and self-employment taxes, I mean, that takes off already 35% of your budget a lot of times, or at least a really good chunk. At least 30%. This is if you're middle class or lower middle class or whatever. And you probably, rent or something, or very cheap mortgage or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's like a third of your income gone but you have to pay for where you live, sure, and taxes. At least self-employed. If you're self-employed, if you just, I think, if you are not self-employed, you pay at least half of what I was paying, but it depends on your income again. I don't know. If your employer automatically pays those wages to the government, I think, so you never end up paying them at the end of the year, but you never see the money that they're paying. So that's kind of nice. So you're often owed a little teensy refund. You think, oh, I got a refund. Anyway, I kind of miss those days a little bit in a way, but I really do. Gosh. Anyway, um, a lot of people. So what the main thing I wanted to say here, though, as you could probably guess, what I'm trying to say is the U.S. government is in huge trouble with its debt. It's at 30 trillion, and someone said actually it's closer to 142 trillion because not including Medicare and Social Security. And I'm asking the question: is this my problem? Is this anybody's problem? Any citizen of the United States? Is it any one of our problems? No, it's not. How could it be the United States anybody's problem? It's not. What did we ever do to cause us to have to personally pay for the national debt? You see these figures like, oh, this is going to make everyone American person, man, woman, child, in debt by close to $1 million or a lot of money. No, it's not. It's the reason why it's not our debt. It's not the U.S. citizens' debt. Is because we didn't do a darn thing we didn't spend it. We did not spend it. I don't remember spending money billions of dollars to, have the military buy all this stuff and go bomb the crap out of countries. I don't remember personally doing that. If I didn't personally do it, it's not my debt. It's not I'm not accountable I'm not responsible for that. Oh, but I elected citizens. I elected people that did that. Then it's my fault. No, it's those people. It's the government. And the government is all going to point fingers at each other. They're never going to accept responsibility. No, they will. It's the government's fault. It's not the people. If the people actually voted, heck, we didn't even vote. If we personally were behind, if we actually personally spent our own money on these things, not even including taxes, if it's like our own money, or some absurd thing like that, or if we made all these stupid decisions, these reckless spending decisions, on top of it, you see how ludicrous this is? This is like the government doesn't respect us. They've never respected us. Anybody who's respectable to begin with. There's probably still some few number that are in the national government that are like that. But when people don't respect us, when the government doesn't respect us, they just take advantage of us. However they can pass whatever laws they want to. Who's keeping them in check? The people? Well, if we make it big stink about it enough, you might not go along with their stupid laws, which some of them are very stupid. Some of them are evil. But we have to make a big enough stink about it. We have to overthrow the government at some point. I don't know. It's just that it's always seems wrong for me to have to pay that much money in self-employment taxes, but I expect it now. Because I'm paying for not only myself as a business, but I'm also paying my own personal taxes, income taxes. But it's the same thing. You know, it's the same thing. They're dipping into my, every year, the government, national government dips into my checking account twice. One for the business, one for my own personal thing. It's the single worst thing about self-employment in the United States is taxes. It's federal taxes. It makes working for yourself not as great of an option. You could say, "Oh, I'm free from having a boss." Well, yeah, but you have to pay twice as much in taxes, more or less. You know, as if you worked for somebody else. But sometimes I don't know. It's like nobody can convince me that the American government is righteous. Nobody can. I was having a conversation with a Russian girl recently. She was convinced that, I don't know, she thought pretty highly of Putin. So many people, doesn't matter what nationality they are, still think that their governments are great. Well, they're not. If you live in a country that's like teensy or not as big of a country, your government might be less corrupt. Very well might be less corrupt. You know, maybe you live in Chile or something, Uruguay. If you live in the USA or Britain or Germany, or I don't know, a country like that, you know, your government's corrupt. Your president might be pretty okay. You might like him, but nope. They're gonna be more or less under the thumb of people who are definitely pretty evil. Every last one of them. Yeah, those Western leaders are not the real leaders of the world, folks. No way. No way. All the money's being spent on taxes is going to where? Well, it's going to who, ultimately? Soldiers? Well, there's a lot of them that get some stuff, but only enough to survive, to live, to live, so they can be healthy. Nope. All that money is ultimately going to who? The wealthy. The people who own the companies that make weapons and military vehicles of some sort, aircraft. It's against the Illuminati. It's all the, ultimately always ends up in the fat cat's hands. They're not going to give hardly, they're going to give only enough for people to survive on. Because that's all we're good for, is just workhorses for them. When that ends, it's basically about when Jesus is coming down to earth again. I think a lot of people don't realize that we've been taken advantage of. We've been seriously, severely taken advantage of. We've been belittled. We've had our humanity stripped from us. We've had our time wasted. Every one of us, by our governments, some in particular, others not so much. We are the servants rather than we're not the masters, we're the servants. We're not in charge. The government, we've made the government in charge. They say, hey, we'll place the authority that in you to make our laws and enforce our laws on some level, and print money and stuff. Everyone's okay, yeah, heck yeah, that's a pretty serious power. It's right there, right? It is, and everybody abuses it. Most everybody, unless you're George Washington, someone insanely righteous, humble, a servant of the people. Man, most people are not like that. They're not like that, and they just take advantage of people, left and right. And that's the great injustice of this life, is when you are taken advantage of. You're taken advantage of emotionally by bullies when you're younger, maybe. You're taken advantage of financially when you get older. People don't have to make you feel bad. Some kind of argument. They can just sue you, or they can get money from you somehow. That's how adults fight. Isn't it stupid? It can mean somebody having a healthy grocery list as opposed to somebody who's just subsisting on beans and rice. For some, if you guys don't believe me, you just haven't been in a situation where people successfully win a lawsuit and they get tons of money from people who don't have a whole lot. Yeah, and are lawsuits ever just? Are they ever unjust? Yes, they can be unjust. Are judges perfect? No. But we're not talking about anything criminal here. We're just talking about civil lawsuits. The wealthy always win because they have all the money. By wealthy, I mean seriously wealthy. I'm not talking about just upper class. I'm talking about really stinking wealthy. They always win because they have more money than they possibly imagine. So I don't play their game. I keep my wants and needs very simple. I don't need things. I don't need tons of money. But the more I'm taxed to hell, the more I'm like, I need more money just to pay more. I don't know. This is why I mentioned George Carlin on this channel. You might think I'm LDS. I'm not mentioning George Carlin. Well, look, the man drank and he swore and he was a little bit foul. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to listen to him. Of course I'm going to listen to him. Yeah, of course. So I don't accept responsibility for anything the government's ever done. Period. No, I have no responsibility. I have no part of that. I've never had any part of that. I don't know. I don't personally know anybody who had any part of that. Really. I think I've known a senator. I think he might have been a national senator, but he's, I don't know. I just don't know. I've never signed. I don't know. Voting is kind of pointless. Kind of. I've never created any laws. I've never approved of any budgeting, myself personally. Votes are just one of millions of people that's ever voted on anything. How the heck can I be responsible for the national debt? How can you be responsible for the national debt? It's insanity. It's silly. It's stupid. Let the Illuminati pay for it. They have the money. Let them pay for the debt. Let's force them to pay the debt. No, it's not the American people's fault at all. American people are innocent of all that stuff. It's the big business. It's the people that have been killing, profiting from people dying. It's those people that need to pay. I believe in being ethical. I believe in being honest and true. I don't believe in supporting a system that is corrupt to the core. Only to the extent that I believe in law and order. But when the time comes to overthrow the government, I'll be ready. You guys take care. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.